Well, another small update on the little S10 truck. I did manage to get a little bit done on it today, and I'll show you that. Grandson goes home tomorrow, so he's been here for 10 days. So he'll go home tomorrow for a few days. I hate it when he goes home, but I have to have some time to get stuff done. We're going to put the wheels and tires on it after we get the brakes bled. My rotors I wanted got back ordered, so I just went up to good old O'Reilly's and got some stockers for now for it. Calipers are on it. They're also just stock for now because this all come in a kit. Got the brake lines run, of course the cover, diff cover's on, diff's full of fluid. It's got red line is what I put in it. We got drive shaft in. I just put new U-joints in the S10 drive shaft, and it's got a 7.5 inch yoke on it. This basically does the same as the 8.8, which is a 1330 series U-joint. So I can use the same U-joint back here, up there, and all this is for right now is just so I can get the truck and move it. I do have one ordered for it. It will be chromoly. It'll be a lot heavier. I'm not planning on doing any real hardcore stuff with this one because I don't want it coming out. I don't want it tearing stuff up under the truck. I did get the back driveline loop. I put it in, I welded it to the bracing. I just got to put the top section in. And as you can see, I think we're pretty good on our angle. Like I said, I pitched that up 3 degrees with weight bearing. Like right now, it's sitting with all the weight on the truck. With the 4-inch drop springs in it. So, and jack stands are under the axle. So pretty much what I'm going to do is just run with it and see what it does, if there's any vibration or anything. It looks really good. Everything's straight. Like I said, I pitched it up 3 degrees. That's what I've always done. I've never had a problem with anything. The old drive shaft was literally straight with the blocks in here. It literally come just straight out. There was no up pitch, down pitch, or nothing. And it did fine. You can see things are kind of close. There's about maybe 3 inches between the rubber and there, but I never bumped before, so I don't think we'll have a problem bumping it now, especially with everything being new. And last time everything was old stock, wore out shit that had been in there since 1998. I think I showed this before, but tranny cooler's in. Got my dash 10 down to dash 8 adapters on there. I just got to snug them up. I don't know if anybody else does it, but I always put a little anti-seize on these. I don't know, it's just something I've always done. I'm an anti-seize fanatic. Oh, what else we got done? Oh, I routed this. Got that all done. It should read fine there from what I've been told. I did get a bunch of the AN lines made up. I got the ones going from the valve covers to the vent can made. I got the ones from the little radiator around to here made. The only thing I haven't done is mounted the water pump yet, which I've got to get that done and get the dash 16 lines made, and then get the block adapters bolted on the front of the block. Didn't get all done, cross your fingers, there's no leaks. Usually I've never had anything leak. I've always been pretty lucky, I guess. But, I mean, you know, if you take your time, make sure you do it right. The only thing I'm worried about leaking is maybe where this plug goes in here. So where I welded it, it did throw a little spatter because I still had flux core in my machine. And all the other welding I've done, I put the bottle on it and changed the wire in it. Yeah, it's a mess out here. But a mess means you're doing something. And of course, all the brake lines, I just made a little bracket between the spring perch there, welded it in, and got that mounted. My line was a little long. I needed 44 inches, 45 inches, and that one I think's 50. But it's on there. Copper's a lot easier to bend. So got the vent all hooked up. But hopefully it should be a little tighter with all new bushings, all everything back here in the bag. New spring bushings in the frame. Yeah. I can't get under there to show you, but I got the fuel pump mounted. The Holley's a 1200-2 pump. So I think the next thing I'm gonna do is get the cage painted. Can't do that, I forgot. I had to do some welding tonight, and this is a no-no. Nobody should ever do this, let a bottle freestand. But to get to back here, my cord will only reach so far. So I got the bottle sitting here, and I just put zip ties from here to the mirror to hold it. I mean, it won't fall over, but so I could get in there. 180. This has been the best little welder. I can't say nothing about it bad. I've had it for 5 years. I bought it in 2015, like around July, August 2015, and I've always run flux core in it and used it to do, just whatever welding with. And I had another welder, a Lincoln, a little bigger. I believe it's a 212 auto set, but this has now got shielded wire in it, and it is an awesome little welder. That thing will just flat ass. It just welds so nice. As long as your metal's clean, if you got any paint on it, even weld-through primer, it don't like. But if your metal's clean, man, that thing just sounds like you're just sitting there frying bacon. It just welds so damn well. Got my little bracket made for the dipstick. I just gotta tighten it up. So it's where I can get to it now. Tight fit, not a lot of real estate up here. The biggest challenge I found since I started doing this, and this is like the 4th swap I've done with a big block, and this is a 98 chassis, so, I'll tell you the things that really they cause the problem areas. One is exhaust. Unless you want to run manifolds, which the early Chevelle manifolds work really well. They really do. But if you want to run headers, it's just trial and error. It all depends on the engine placement. All of them are different. But there's headers that will work without buying high dollar stuff. I almost went and bought another set and did something and run it back down through the frame, but I wanted to do this time. I really don't care what anyone thinks about it. If you like it or dislike it, everybody has their own thing, but I wanted it out the fender. I wanted it to be obnoxious this time. I got a neighbor I really fully intend to fucking irritate the shit out of. And the local law enforcement, they don't care. As long as you're not acting stupid on the street, they don't care how loud it is. They don't mess with the gearhead guys because there's so many of us up here. The other problem you run into is getting a big enough radiator in here to cool it. Now, would this little 4-core V8 S10 radiator cool by itself? It probably would until you got on a hot day or something and had to let it sit and idle, or you hammer on it a lot. It probably would start giving you a little bit of problem, but with that other one up there, it should be fine. As far as square inch of cooling capacity, I'm slightly bigger than the big radiator I had in here. And the old radiator I had literally was clear over here. I had to cut this out. I cut on either side of this, and it went from here all the way to there, and it set all the way down at the bottom of the frame, and it still wouldn't fit under here. I had all this cut out. I had a piece of diamond plate that I actually, with the lip rolled under, which was the edge of a damn old aluminum toolbox. It just happened to work out perfect. And the other issue is where the steering column comes through the firewall. It has to be moved to the driver's side. You can move it over about an inch, inch and a half's better. It will put it in an angle coming up to you in the truck, but it's not really that noticeable. You know, the best thing to do is, you know, change the column like I did. I just got one of them cheap Speedway columns in there with a movable steering wheel, and then the Jeep shaft, which is 1-inch double D to 3/4 30 spline down here at the box, and a manual gearbox. I did, you can see the shaft, and yes, I welded a washer on top, tacked it so the caps can't slide out if that would happen. What I did was just brought it all the way down to the pinch weld. I welded a plate, I riveted it in to hold it, then I went back and welded it all in. A piece of 1/8-inch plate to stiffen up, one, the firewall, and two, I dropped it all the way down to that pinch weld. And then I just made my grommet. I split a piece of fuel line, wrapped around it, and went around it with some seam sealer, and then poked the steering through there, and it sealed up tight. And then you can buy one of those clamp style brackets from Speedway Motors to bolt it to the firewall. So, and then I use a muffler clamp and took the bracket off my stock column and flipped it over upside down, bolted it back in, welded the base of the muffler clamp into it, cut a slot out, welded it into it. I don't know, and I already put the plastic in there. I already show you it, but I already put the dash back together underneath. But yeah, that Jeep shaft, and you'll have to take it apart and take about 1.5 inches out of the solid side. And if you need to, and you're really careful, that's what I did, you can grind down a little further on it and flatten it on the two sides and slide it back together, and it works fine. But yeah, you know, you can literally see here how low my column is. Where it comes out of here, it's clear down where the block meets the head. It's completely out of the way. It's not kicked to one side no more or anything. And there's plenty of room once you drop it down to get a header down through there. You don't believe me? There's the small block mounts, and the engine is slid all the way back. I just capped off my fittings in the pan because those are just bulkhead fittings. And when I put the nuts on them, I went back and I drilled a hole through the fitting all the way through, and I put a cotter key through it and bent it up so the nut can't back off. So I thought about tapping the nuts and putting the set screw in it, but then you run the risk of boogering the threads. This way I can just drill through it, put it through there, done. And then I got caps on there with O-rings in them to seal up, so I don't have the turbo returns leaking oil. But yep. And then there's the lower mount for the shroud. It's just a stud sticking up with a piece of fuel line slid over it up against the shroud. You can put a zip tie around it if you want to. You just need something to hold it there. So, and there is one bolt in the middle. So, but I think the next thing is we're going to get the lowers changed out, get the tubular lowers on it, the new sway bar bushings and sway bar. I got a bigger sway bar. I got anti-roll bar for the back to put on yet. So we're getting there. Right now I'm more worried about getting it where I can start it. which means getting the drive shaft in it, getting fluid, fill the transmission up, make sure everything's good to go, fuel pump, make sure you check the fuel system, there's no leaks, get the cooling lines put on the transmission up to the cooler. I want to get it where I can run it. Then I can worry about doing like the lower control arms and the rear anti-roll bar and stuff like that. I just want to get everything hooked up where I can run the engine, because it's setting and setting and setting, and it's kicked off, which means I gotta empty the dehumidifier again. It's been so damn humid up here in eastern Kansas lately, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, we'll get the plug wires on it. I gotta do that, and I gotta get me something to cap this off. Just get me a rubber cap or something to put over it. That, or I might see if I can tap the end of that enough I can put a small pipe plug in the end of it. That's a pretty thick piece, so I might have to take and measure the inside diameter of that and see if I can like tap it and maybe put a 1/8 inch pipe plug or something in there. The old radiator was tapped right there, the one that's in the El Camino that used to be in here. And then my wife, we had one of these that's been seeping on it, and we took it apart today to see what was going on. And the fitting up here where the transmission cooling line would go in, I bet there's not a 1/4 inch deep depth wise for that fitting to screw into, and it just rolled the threads on it. So I ended up putting a cooler similar to this on it this afternoon. I'm waiting on AN fittings, so I can go from AN to hose barb on it, so I can run the lines up here and just use rubber hose to put on it. Because that Turbo 400's just got a shift kit in it, a little converter, and that engine makes probably around 500 to the flywheel that's in that El Camino. So, and it's just a 468. It's got an eagle bottom end in it. It's got a set of 188 big square port heads on it. And then the cam in that El Camino is like I think it's 550 lift, like a 296 304 duration on a 114 lobe center. So it's got a little bit of an idle to it, but it's not even what I call fair idle. It's just got a noticeable idle. So I'm kind of curious to see how this thing, I got that done. I think I showed that before. This is kind of video out of boredom, just kind of going over different things. Everything in here is done, other than I gotta get the shifter mounted, which I still ain't figured out what shifter I want. I've always been kind of partial to a Winters Sidewinder. I've used them in the past. The only thing is, in this situation here, I've already got a hole up front and a grommet in the floor I put in for the shift cable. I don't want to punch another hole in the floor. So I have a hard time punching holes and everything. And then we didn't have no back window, so I just ordered one of those kits from S&W for this 1/8 inch. I wanted 1/4 inch, but I want to get the truck running and have some fun with it this summer before it gets funky for winter. I mean, I didn't have it all last summer, and anybody that's got a car and it's not done, and you see everybody else out running around, it just eats at you. Then you got that long cold winter to go through, and yeah, it sucked. So, but doing this shit ain't cheap, man. I have got a ton of money in this thing. A ton of money. But this time I decided I was just going to kind of more or less build what I want. And like I said in the beginning, in the earlier videos, my son talked me into the turbo thing. But I was just going to build a nitrous engine or a blower motor. I hadn't decided yet. And what I wanted to do was do a tunnel ram with 2 carbs and put a plate kit under each carb and spray it that way. But now that I went nitrous and I've already got a 355 gear in the rear end, we're going to see how it works. Like I said, if it ain't right, I will not pull that 8.8 apart. I'll just go buy either a 9-inch or go through Spawn. It's like SPOHN, and buy one of their 12 bolts that's already set up for an S10 and put under it, and then go back to like either a 410 or a 430 gear in it. So I had a 410 in it before, in the 7.5 with mini spool, and I blew it up. Did it again, blew it up. Then we full spooled the 7.5 and it held up until we took the motor out. And no, I take that back. We took it out and I sold that one to that dude clear the hell over across town. And I got that 8.8 that was already cut down and put under it. So, but it was just a drum brake 8.8. It wasn't special. It just been cut down. But just a little short video, show you what's going on. I'll right as I get toward the end, I will take the time and make a video and explain all the little things that I did. How much I'll show you how much I cut out of the engine cross member, and that's the only thing that's been touched to make the engine fit. Now I did over here. You can see there's a little bit of a lip. I don't mean to flip people off. It's just my longer finger. Right here, you'll see a little lip. And what I did was, you know where the heater box is at and all down here, there's that big square hole. When I cut that out, I just kind of flanged that back about maybe ½ inch. I kind of bent it in and then welded another piece in and moved that piece over to just over to right about here, just about the middle of that curve. And that was just to give me a little more room behind this head, so I could run plug wires and wiring and everything out this side and down this frame rail. Because over there the steering and everything is just kind of pain in the ass, and I probably got an inch between the valve cover over there. So, but I'll show you all the little things I did, like the little muffler clamp thing under the dash, the steering column, the Jeep steering column, and how much I cut it and what it looks like apart before cutting and after cutting. Where I got the master cylinder kit from, when I cut this out and moved it up, I think about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. I moved it up so it would come out above the tall valve cover, and extended the gas pedal inside, and it all, let's see if I can do this. Full travel on the cable. You can hear the pedal in there moving. When you do that, or if you ever take the gas pedal out on these damn things, take those damn sheet metal screws out, throw them away, punch the holes out, and put 3/4 20 bolts through it. Put them through from the outside in, and put you some nylock nuts on them, because that damn pedal will come loose. They always come loose. This truck used to be, this cab had a manual, and all I did was take the clutch pedal and the other pedal out and hung the automatic pedal up there. Just make sure you put that little plastic sleeve up there and put some grease or something in there. Yeah, make sure you put that little plastic thing back in there. That little sleeve, it goes in there for a bushing. The wheels that are going on are black. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet, but they're black. I was going to put a black grill in it, and I didn't do it. There's one of the Nitto 555s. My wife bought these for me like almost a year ago for my birthday. And that's how long we've been sitting waiting. I don't know if they still got the stickers on them or not, but there, yeah. These are actually a pretty good tire for the street. They're really sticky. I don't know if those are going to stay on there. I might take them off. I got something really cute to put here by the exhaust decal for that. But then I'll get the grill put back in and figure out something for a badge down here. I really wanted a GMC grill, but they wanted so much more money for a GMC grill, and I actually got that one donated. Go back one of my early videos, I think it was US Auto Parts or someone actually sent me that. So evidently somebody that knows me or something and had a connection. I don't know. So this was another freebie. It was sent to me by somebody, and I can't remember your name, and I apologize, but I'll put it up. My little blocks are for pneumatic use, but if it'll hold air, they'll hold water. I really wish when I did this, I cut this back further. I really do. It had made so much easier getting an alternator bracket to work if I had cut those back and just welded to the hex part. And then the next revelation is get in here and I'm going to fill it through here. If it don't work because there's no fill hole anywhere, I'm going to have to pull that valve cover off, which means taking the header off to get to the 3 bolts and pull the valve cover off and hole saw a hole in it so I can put a fill cap in there. But yep, dug out a drop base for the air cleaner to get it down because that's a brand new element in there. I didn't want to buy another one, and I didn't want to buy another pre-filter. That damn outerwear thing, that little nylon piece of shit was like $35. But I got a drop base and scuffed it and painted it with black texture to match the top. So my 6-inch hood should clear that. If it don't, then I'll have to just buy another filter. But I'd videotape me doing the AN fittings and stuff, guys, but that sucks. If you've ever done it, it sucks. Key thing with AN fittings is whatever your fittings are made by, where it's Airquip, Earls, Russell, Vibrant, whoever, Fergola, buy their hose. And buy the hose that goes with that fitting. Fergola is really known for having multiple different series of fittings and hoses, and if you mix them up, your shit will leak. Trust me. Your will leak. If you're using 2000 series hose or whatever, you need to use 2000 series Fergola fittings. This might change too. I found some heat sleeves that have little stands that go under them, and you clamp them over the hose clamp. I might buy a couple of them to put on here just for extra heat shielding instead of using these turbo blankets where somebody says, oh, that looks dorky as hell. And then this, which these are actually for a Subaru. They're cover the exhaust housing for a Subaru is what these are for. But I got them to cover the V-band area. So just something to kind of shield the heat. But hopefully all that'll be enough. No, my luck, I'll start it and the engine will rock or something and fuck the exhaust all up. But I got it for the V-band. It can pivot if it had to at the V-band if it was a pressure. But I don't think the engine's going to move. I've used those mounts that guy sells before on a small block, those poly mounts, and they're almost like a solid mount. They don't move. And then I got a poly transmission mount back here too from Energy Suspensions. So, but everything fits in there good. I can't complain so far. As long as this bastard don't split up the sides like Billy Hoskins did. He had one just like this. And it split up the back corner, I believe, on the driver's side. So we'll have to see. That one's got a 3-inch foam pad under it. So hopefully that'll help. But if it twists enough, it's going to pop it. But with the bracing back here in the chassis and the bracing from the bar, because it's welded to there's stands and it comes off the frame, and then this bar is welded, goes inside the end of the stand, welded to this bar, welded to the stand pipe, stand tubing, and then it goes all the way across. So we'll see. Now I gotta figure out if I'm gonna cut all this shit off up here. My boy wants to mount the nitrous bottles up and down. I'll probably mount them back here so I can put a aluminum sheet cover over this. So I got a whole bunch of like 062, 063, something like that. It's this stuff right here. It's not quite 1/8 inch diamond plate. I bought some of it, and I was able to buy some 4x8 sheets of it for like $60 for a 4x8 sheet. And I think I got 2 and a partial left, which should give me more than enough to do this. I just gotta get some aluminum angle. And then my stupid ass mistake where I put the radiator right there and then decided I wanted to move it here, then I moved it back up front. So probably next winter I will take that out and I will go find another bed and I will cut a piece out and square that up and weld a section of bed floor back in it. Because this bed is completely rust free. The only thing that had rot in it, I put cab corners in it, I put rockers in the cab, and that was it. And that's because that cab had a clean title. It's had a reassigned VIN put on it, but it's got a clean title. So what do you think? Roll bar stay black or should I paint it green? I think I might paint it green. My son says that's too much green. I don't think so. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. But I got a guy I know, Speed Lee, local guy here. He's got a little badass S10 Pro Charge small block in it. And it's green and black. I don't want to be nil and saying I'm copying off of him. I was doing the lime green thing clear back in like 08, so that's always been a color is green. Either this grabber green or dark emerald green metallic or regular emerald green metallic. So, and then that's just GM, some other color metallic gray. I wanted darker, but it looked darker on the can, but it wasn't darker once it dried. Which probably this coming winter, little shit like this, places where the clear coat's coming off, and where I pulled paint off, and like right here, I pulled clear off at the pinstripe, and all along here, and big dink in the door there for my grandson, hit it with a damn hammer, and shit like this, where I slid against the door into the snow. Just all these little places where it's chipped out. I mean, this is engine paint, this is touch-up paint, and it's got Nason clear coat over all of it. I'll probably scuff it out and reshoot it. So, I mean, you can tell I wasn't real concerned. I mean, you can see there's sanding scratches. Still got sanding scratches up there in it. That big gig right there. But it's about having fun. I'm not worried about pretty. You know, like right here, when I picked the cab off of it,